This is going to be a shorter video on exporting, and because next term we have been told that we will be able to screen works using the 4K projector, I thought I would update my recommendations for exporting based on that. So in order to do that, let's just switch over to the editing tab, color correction, right. Okay, so I have here a very short, it's only 10 seconds exactly. And I've done all the kind of pre-exporting checks. So I've got some black video at the beginning. I've adjusted the audio gain so it doesn't peak above -3. I've left a bit of black at the end as well. Yours, I imagine your video projects will be somewhat more lengthy and complicated than this, but nevertheless, here is a kind of complete video, just some few clips here like this. Now this is actually, because I'm running out of space on this laptop, this is actually only a 720p. But if you have shot in 4K, then if you can screen it in 4K, then you should export it in 4K so we get the absolute maximum best resolution and picture quality. So I've got my clip here. I've put in and out points, including a bit of black at the beginning and a bit of overage at the end. So what I want to do now is to export. On a Mac, you can just go Command M and that calls up this screen here. Or otherwise you go up here and go File, Export, Media Export. So we need to make sure it's a media file. These are like, if you've got accounts with these various things, you can actually directly export to them, but we're going to export a media file. So from the top, first of all, we want to give it a meaningful name, and I think I've already just tested this. So let's call it something short and sweet. So let's call it test 1. Okay, and then you need to give it a location. What I'm going to do, although for some reason I can't dial into the remote server at the moment from where I am, I will create a folder in the shared folder where you put your final films. It will be clearly marked like final films here. So if you submit them there, that's probably the best. Now what you probably can see next is there's a preset here, and this is a preset I've actually created. So I'll go through how you can create a preset once you've kind of tweaked it to get the highest possible quality, balancing that out against the amount of time it's going to take, and indeed the amount of storage it requires. So if we go to this, what I've chosen to do, because it's particularly suited to 4K because it makes smaller files and it's a newer format, is rather than using H.264, which we've been kind of using and generally works pretty well for YouTube, is to use H.265. The incremental number suggests it is indeed newer. So I've set the format to H.265, and then I want to come down and if I click match source, you'll see it defaults to the actual source size of the clip, which is only 720p. So I need to uncheck this here and then choose the size I want. So 4K actually, as is shot usually on the Canon, is officially UHD. 4K is a kind of that resolution, but it's 3840 by 2160. So I'm going to select that. Okay. Now, all the time I'm making these changes, be aware of this estimated file size here. It's less of an issue if you are saving it to the server, where we have bountiful space. But when you're in a space constrained situation, as I am currently on my laptop, sometimes you need to check this so you actually got the space to do something with. Frame rate is reading the frame rate from the clip, so you shouldn't change that. The aspect ratio should be square pixels. 1 here. If you can't see any more stuff like this, then click the more button and it will reveal some more options. You should check render at maximum depth, and you should also check use maximum render quality. Going down here, you can I would just allow it to settle for whatever it settles for. Here depends on the specs of the machine. At the moment this machine is saying it's going to do it using hardware. That's fine, but what you may want to change is under profile. No, main is absolutely fine in that context, so that's fine. Level, I was reading on Adobe's latest missives, I think they're suggesting 5.2 for 4K footage, so you can set the level, leave that main, set the level to 5.2. Tier, set that to high. I think it defaults to main, but set the tier to high. This is all to kind of bump up the kind of quality. So you'll see the difference it makes when I go further down here to this important thing, bitrate settings. This is how much space each individual frame will take up. So you'll notice that that value should change as I reduce this. It used to be, I don't know whether it's a consequence of just haven't got the disk space or I've got a particular version of Premiere Pro. It used to be you could choose between CBR, which is constant bit rate, so it would always be the same amount of information for every frame. Variable bit rate, which enables the machine to allocate more space to particular frames with more information and a lot less for like black frames, where there's no kind of variance in color information and what's going on. But you should probably set it for variable bit rate. If you've got the option for 2 pass, it will take twice as long, roughly, because it will like do a first pass to work out what's going on, and then the second pass will actually write it. And then the key characteristic here is the target bit rate. I think by default for YouTube it's something like about 10, and the recommendations for Adobe for 4K are around about the 60 mark. So you can see that's bumping up the file size. It's a kind of a trade-off here. I mean, given that I'm upscaling this because it's only that resolution anyway, it's fairly pointless. I can't add in more information than is there already, but somewhere between, so let's set it around about the 60 mark there, like that. You can see you can go absolutely crazy. It says 10-second video. Actually didn't, would it not let me do that? Yeah, 225 megabytes for 10 seconds. It's bonkers. And 10 would give you a like much smaller size, like 14. So depends on your use case, but let's set it around about the 60 mark. I don't think it needs to be absolutely precise. And then coming down here to audio, if it defaults to something like 192 or 128, it's worth bumping up to 320 is really kind of the top end that you might want to set that for. So I've set all these things here like that to kind of really give it a bit of a workout there like that. And then what I might want to do, because maybe I'm doing a short bit first and I want to come back once I'm happy with the quality of that, I can come here and choose Save Preset. So I can call this 4K Final, for argument's sake. You can call it what you like. Okay. And now that exists along with the other ones I made here, like Final Render, Low Res, or whatever else. So this is this preset. All these settings here are 4K Final. And then I covered this previously. You can either send it to Media Encoder, and you can stack up a whole different range of resolutions if you want to leave the machine overnight, and it will produce multiple versions of that. I've covered that in the previous session, so I'm not going to go through that now. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to choose Export, and hopefully this shouldn't take long because it's only 10 seconds. But bear in mind, the higher the bit rate, the higher the settings overall generally, the longer it will take.